this past year, just this past season, which is kind of coming to a close now. We're in November, early November now, but we were able to interact with almost 12,000 visitors to the Catskills.
Wow.
So that's up pretty much every year. We're able to connect with more and more people, and that's likely because more and more people are coming, but also we're fine-tuning our programs to intersect and do the timing of the day to be at the places when the people are getting there. But we actually helped with our trail stewards. We helped avoid almost 50 rescues. So we helped 44 groups or individuals get out of the woods without requiring an official rescue.
The bushwhacks were some of the worst days I've ever had in the mountains, or life, really.
Whereas Panther Mountain is totally opposite. It's a mountain on top of a crater.
I think the weather challenges on this incident were particularly difficult.
It was really the development of New York State. Catskills were responsible.
Now you're listening to Inside the Line, the Catskills.
So I'm going to start a little bit different. So welcome to episode 98 of Inside the Line, the Catskill Mountain Podcast. I have Ken and Hank here from the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. We're going to talk about the conference this year, what they've done in the history of the conference, and different stuff like that with the conference, how important it is to the Catskills. So I wanted to get that out as soon as possible. So let's get into the small talk right away. 100th episode celebration has been confirmed for the show, November 19th, 3 p.m. at Camp Catskill in Tannersville. I hope to see anybody there. It'll be a fantastic time. Hopefully, Ken, you can come in barefoot. Hank, you can be there, hopefully. Whatever. It doesn't matter to me, just as long as somebody from the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference supports anything and everything in the Catskills, because you guys are a huge benefit to the Catskills.
Well, I'll be there, Stash, unless a bear grabs me and runs off with me into the forest.
And I'll make sure Jeremy Apgar is able to attend
with lots of maps.
Yeah, with lots of maps and how to get them.
Hell yeah. Yeah. And, speaking of Ken's talking about bears, wow, a lot of bear activity has been happening over the United States in the past few days, probably, weeks. It's been crazy. So I just found out this, I think it was today or yesterday, that a portion of the Blue Ridge Parkway was being closed to people feeding bear and trying to pet the bear and cuddle it as well. What an absolute mess that is. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, so the Trail Conference puts out all sorts of messaging about how to behave in nature and how to be safe and how to protect the natural resource, and cuddling with bears is not one of those things that we recommend. We stick to the leave no trace principles, these 7 principles, where the last one is about respecting wildlife and each other and fellow humans. It sounds pretty dangerous to be snuggling a bear.
Right? This is an 8-mile stretch in Asheville, North Carolina. So I've heard down towards that way and towns towards the Smoky Mountains of the Blue Ridge Parkway and stuff, that bears can get more aggressive down there because there's more of a population that comes to the area, and they like to get those stupid Instagram pictures and stuff like that, like in Yellowstone and different areas like that. But October 30th is when the closure will begin. It will began. So that was 3 days ago. From right now, we're on Thursday, the 2nd, and multiple visitors have been reported, through video, through pictures of feeding the bear and then trying to cuddle the cub. And these people, I gotta admit, one thing, a mama bear is not happy when you do that crap to her cubs. So, God, what is going on with our world today?
Yeah, well, you're talking to the trail conference, and one of the things the trail conference prides itself on is getting the correct information out there, and that's what we try to do. We try to help people understand what to expect when they get to where they're going, and what to do to be safe, and we try to spread the correct information, which may be very much counter to what they're seeing in social media, which may be a lot of pictures of a cute little baby bear with teeth close to your face. But
right.
The trail conference is about helping people connect with nature the right way.
The right way, not like the cuddling way.
Right, not connecting through a bite on your nose from a bear's jaw.
Yeah. Right. Ken, what do you think about that?
Well, I've seen lots of bears in the Catskills, and we've generally just gone our separate ways.
Yeah. It seems like the bears in the Catskills and more up north, I would say more north of the Shenandoahs and stuff like that, are less aggressive and more scared and just run off and don't care and just, go about their ways. But I've heard of horror stories down, south of the Shenandoahs, more towards the Smoky Mountains, of bears just walking. I saw a video recently of a bear walking on the streets in what town is it? One of the big towns in like Nashville, right outside of Nashville and stuff. Just walking, three cubs and a mama bear just walking down the streets. And I'm like, that's a little crazy. That's the stuff you see in Alaska when you're in the middle of nowhere with the moose and stuff like that. But it's just, it's getting crazy with, I'd have to say, people wanting to be like social media happy, friendly, stuff like that, getting crazy and stuff like that. But
and social media has a lot of effects on our world, and it's a great source of information and a great way to stay connected. But we see that, and you've seen that in the Catskills and elsewhere, where people discover, for example, the blue hole. And then you have 1,000 people and huge congestion and litter and other issues. And that's one of the challenges that the Trail Conference and a bunch of other organizations have to figure out, because, all these folks are, responding to the call of the wild, and they didn't necessarily know that they and, 1,000 other people were all responding to the same calls at the same place. So, part of the challenge for today is managing access to the natural world. And I saw somebody posted a video online, and it was miles of cars just parked along the side of a highway, and I was like, oh well, that's the Adirondacks, it's like that all the time. But actually it was the Schwanguns. So It was a nice leaf peeping weekend outside of Minnewaska. So and they spent a lot of money to enlarge the parking lot and improve but there's just that we all have to figure out, how to manage large numbers of people going places, and also not behaving the way that you traditionally expect people to behave outdoors, because they just have no understanding of what a bear cub or a bear mom could do, or the other hazards that are out there.
Correct. And that's, the big thing of the Trail Conference, and of course this podcast, is getting education out there, getting people educated on the outdoors, and getting people, how to feel comfortable outdoors, instead of approaching that cub being like, oh, most of us hikers would be like, there's a mama bear close by, let's get the hell out of here, or let's scare it off.
Right.
Instead, they're just like, let's get some cute pictures of it really close, and let's threaten our lives and the lives of other, plus the bear, who that's number one.
And, we all started out as uninformed hikers wearing blue jeans back in the day. And so, people start with less knowledge, and it's our mission at the Trail Conference to help them, connect with nature. But most of what we do is provide the trails, of course. But as Hank mentioned, outreach and education is also part of our mission. And, we're trying to enable that experience in the right way.
Yeah, the outreach and education that we're working on is done electronically with our website and email blasts with trail alerts, and also through our social media channels, and hopefully other people pick that up. But also in person with our trail steward programs, and our in the Catskills we have our trail stewards on the summits, and we are spreading the word, the good word, the correct word of how to protect the natural resource, how to limit your likelihood of getting hurt and requiring a rescue from being injured or lost, and how to go where you want to go and have an experience that you'd like to have. So we're trying to provide that education through people on the ground in the Catskills, and also through our messaging. Our messaging is on our maps. It's on kiosks, on signage. It's everywhere that it's practical to get it. But people don't always read the signs, or the stop at the kiosks, or read the recommendations on websites, or even stop and listen to the suggestions from an in-person trail steward. But we're trying to collect the data on all of that, and track it, and figure out what's working. And turns out that, as you may guess, that in-person interaction is more likely to modify the behavior. Basically, it's more likely that people will follow the 7 principles of leave no trace, for example, like staying on the trail and not wandering off the trail, not packing out garbage, not leaving garbage behind, things like that. Maybe turning off radios or using earphones instead, those kind of things. Whereas if there's just a sign that says stay on the trail, might not be as effective.
Yeah. It's definitely a difficult time, because of course we have a more influx of hikers and influx of people come visiting the Catskills and every other national park, forest preserve anywhere in the United States. So it's definitely a difficult time to adapt and reach out these people. I've always said, I'm almost 100 episodes in, and I'm always saying, how do we reach those people? Is it by social media? Is it by, email? Is it by face-to-face, stuff like that? It's always a difficult time. And of course, this shows of those difficult times when people don't understand that, a cub might still attack you, and a mama bear will be right behind you and will attack you instantly. So it's crazy. So on with that. So I have another story that in North Carolina, once again, a bear hunter gone missing was rescued after a 16-hour rescue operation with a Black Hawk helicopter and more than 60 emergency personnel in North Carolina. So they were in Pisgah National Forest, which is down more towards the southern part of North Carolina. Beautiful area full of nice high peak area, very, very thick, dense forest. Bears all over the place. Beautiful spot. He suffered serious injuries after falling in an area known for its rocky cliffs, and emergency first responders worked for 7 hours to get through the night. But before that, he had suffered injuries from a black bear that had supposedly attacked him. Now, during those times, we all know search and rescue. A lot of people don't know that, it is not easy to carry a person out for 2 miles, for let alone 3 miles and then 4 or 5 miles where this guy was at. So of course they had to get a Black Hawk helicopter to extract him, make it easier, make the person survive. Very, very long 16-hour operation, which is absolutely insane. I read previously last week that there was a 7-hour walkout up in New Hampshire off of one of the ravines that they had up there on Mount Washington. And, that is intense stuff. So once again, black bears down in North Carolina are getting pretty crazy. But just some more stuff to share with the people and to show them that, bears can be aggressive, not really up in the Catskills, but you never know. just stay away from them, scare them off, yell at them, take a picture or two and then yell at them, stuff like that. But do not come within like freaking 50, 100 feet of them. Take that picture of a little black spot and say that was a black bear. I see logs sometimes in the distance and I'm like, ooh, that's a black bear. I'm like, no, that's a log.
Right.
Yeah, even without a bear encounter and even without being injured by a bear, those time frames of rescues are not unheard of in the Catskills. If people are injured or lost and there's a search going on or a rescue, and transporting an injured person for hours and hours and hours is not unheard of. Those timeframes are what it can take, and when helicopters are involved, that can be multiple thousands of dollars per hour of helicopter time.
Yeah, you don't want to know the mileage, the miles per gallon for a helicopter. But by the way, I'll give a shout out for some of the search and rescue teams in our area. So when we put on the SRT race in the Schwangunks, that's an unmarked course, and so we're very focused on runner safety, and we have people from 3 different teams: New Jersey Search and Rescue, Sam's Point Search and Rescue, and the Catskills 3500 Search and Rescue. All of those are volunteer operations, and they're really highly trained, very observant, very disciplined, very prepared, very patient. They're just great organizations. And so, by the way, anybody who's listening who has an interest, you can join these organizations and get training and can help them. And they do go out and, they help the rangers and there have been some big search operations in the Catskills, and all these volunteer organizations were out there with the rangers and the fire people and the police looking for and finding people and bringing them out. So very important resource in our area, as well as I'm sure in North Carolina and definitely in New Hampshire.
Yeah, especially located along the Appalachian Trail and stuff like that. Definitely need those times. And SRT, how long is that trail exactly?
That's around 70 miles, and it starts at High Point State Park in New Jersey and ends just on the Rosendale Trestle in Rosendale, New York. And that's a trail conference creation. Our board member, Andy Garrison, and Jacob Frank, who passed away a few years ago, were instrumental in mapping out and creating that trail. It's just a fantastic connector trail, co-aligned with the Long Path for about 30 miles. But the gunks are so distinctive, and thousands of people descend upon Minnewaska and Sam's Point, but the southern gunks are also really cool. We've got not only do we have a team of great volunteers under Cami Morgenthaler, who's the volunteer supervisor, so they keep those trails maintained, and that the blueberry and the sassafras and the scrub oak grows fast in those areas, so they're out there doing a lot of cutting. Otherwise, the trails wouldn't be passable. And we've got a map set that Jeremy's put together that covers that whole area as well.
Yeah, definitely. Along that 70-mile run, you definitely need checkpoints with people checking in on people, because I've heard it with the SRT is that a lot of those markers are a little bit far and in between, and then people can run off course and then get off course. So having those people check in and stuff like that within times is very critical.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a challenge for the SRT and the Long Path. Our ability to put out blazes that identify those trails is subject to the landowner's policies. So we don't, the DEC has very strict standards, for example, in what they permit in terms of blazing. And so we'd like to put more blazes out there. Sometimes we're limited by their policies.
Yep. Yeah. DEC does a fantastic job, but we gotta get. I can't say anything bad about the DEC, man.
No. They're great, and they're preserving the wilderness character of many of these areas. So that means you can't just do whatever you want.
Well, I can't say whatever I want either. A lot of people have been involved with this podcast with the DEC. I think Jeff and the Rangers and stuff like that to be willing to talk on this podcast with them, and they have been fantastic. So once again, volunteers are greatly appreciated, and we're going to talk about that tonight. I have one more thing, and then this is positive. Finally, not something about a black bear attack. So, 92-year-old breaks world record, becomes oldest person to hike the Grand Canyon rim to rim. 92 years old. Damn, that's incredible. And you know what? It's phenomenal. 10 days. 92-year-old broke the record. 24-mile journey from rim to rim, and from someone who's been to the Grand Canyon, I haven't say I've been rim to rim, but that is not an easy feat. People think that the Grand Canyon is just the top, but the top to the bottom is a matter of 1,800 feet, probably even more at sometimes at different times.
Oh, I think it's close to 5,000 feet.
Oh, like
oh yeah,
like,
it's huge. Right.
Like a total elevation, or just bottom to
yeah.
Depending where you are,
right.
it's only 2,000 feet, but there's spots where it's close to 5,000 feet from the top of the rim down to the river.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. 92 years old. Like, I can only imagine like what I can do right now. I'm going to be like, I'd probably cap out at like 2 days, and I'd be like, this is it. My knees are killing me. I'm going to need a helicopter rescue. like it's just absolutely insane. It's what an accomplishment. I hope to be that agile and, out in nature as I want to, and 92 years old, and to be like to see his pictures. This guy was like number one. It reminds me of Michael Kudish, like the way he is out in nature and just loves and smiles and just has a great time. This guy, his name is, give me 1 second, Alfredo, I believe that. Alfredo Algia. He's God, sorry, I'm just reading this right now. I should have probably studied this before, so I'm sorry. But he's from Germany. He rimmed the rim after 2 days and more than 21 hours of hiking. He surpassed the previous record holder and became the oldest to complete the 24-mile journey from North Rim to South Rim. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. So, I don't know. I'm just amazed by these people that just have this passion at this old of an age and have a good time.
Yeah, so people getting into bigger number years and having a passion for the outdoors, that includes some of our volunteers at the trail conference, and some of our Catskill volunteers have been around this planet for many decades, and a lot of them have been volunteering with the trail conference for decade after decade. So it's really neat to see that passion where people are our grandparents or great grandparents and still out there in the woods with loppers or painting blazes or moving sticks or reporting trail issues out on the trail, or volunteering in some other way for the trail conference. But I'm always really impressed with the age range of our volunteers spans like the entire lifespan of a human, but we have a lot of people that are retired and really passionate about improving public access to open space through working on the trails.
Yeah. And Ken, you're a long distance hiker. You can respect this like any other, that this is just a phenomenal feat at 92 years old.
Oh, I agree. So I'm just trying to do the math about how long I have to last to get to that point. All the numbers are intimidating. Most of us are just trying to keep moving as long as we can. But I do think, the older generations, what's really important is to demonstrate the values that we care about. So the values of continuing to challenge yourself, of respect for nature and the environment and other people. Simple values, but as you get older, you want to demonstrate those values and show younger people the right way forward.
Right. Definitely perfectly said. You want to be a role model for
Exactly.
the future that we have. And once again, that brings me to my point of how do we do that? Social media, is it through face-to-face interaction? Stewards like you guys have all over the place. 3500 Club has, Catskill Center has. It's just it's an ongoing battle that is tough to accomplish because you want to get these people the information that they need and make them respect nature. But how do you do that with so many volunteers and then a wide amount, absolute wide amount of visitors to the areas? And that's why you guys are here. New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, phenomenal organization that helps us throughout these hard times. So that's why I have you here.
Yeah, what you said about a role model is really important, and we I'll reference some studies that we've witnessed the fact that there's a lot of newcomers to the trails, a lot of people that haven't experienced nature very much and haven't done much hiking or at a new area for the first time. And one of the things that people do when they are somewhere new is to model their behavior after the other people that are there. Yeah. So when they see people staying on the trail, they're more likely to stay on the trail. When they see when a whole bunch of hikers are wandering the wrong way off the trail, more people might follow them off the trail. New trails might be formed, and it's we've witnessed that. Even with garbage and things, like if we do garbage pickups and clean up the place, the garbage doesn't pile up as fast as when it's already kind of trashed. Every time we clean it up, it stays cleaner a little longer.
Yep, exactly. And once again, it's an ongoing battle with how do we reach these people that are coming up to visit our areas and to visit the recreations that we have, and then to give them that passion that we have, that Hank and Ken have, that let's protect this area, but also let's have a good time and let's spread the love. So ongoing battle.
Yeah, and I think Stash, there's one other comment I'd make though, and it always is frustrating to encounter folks who don't know everything we think they should. But the flip side is we do want to welcome people to the trails. Yeah. And we have to understand that not everybody, comes from the same place that we do. So the education mission is important. And, to some extent, it's good to have the opportunity to educate people who are drawn to nature, but don't necessarily have the skill set or the knowledge base to do it 100% the right way. But that's good that they're coming. A world where people just had no interest in nature, I think that would be a worse world. So, yeah. It's a challenge for all of us to welcome people, when they don't have the same skill set or experience as we do, so they're different. But yeah, I'm always reassured when I see people finding their way to nature, because I think without that connection to nature, I'm not sure, what keeps us human in today's, rapidly technifying world. So that's just the flip side, but it means we have a mission. Our mission is to connect people with nature, and most of what we do at the Trail Conference is the building and maintaining of trails. But we do a lot of other things too, like the maps, like invasives, like the stewards that Hank was pointing to. And we can't do everything, and there are lots of other great organizations that are out there helping people learn some of the skills. But we're going to start by making sure that we've got a trail network that people can use and follow and not trip on. And to Hank's point, they won't be, wandering through the forest because they can't tell where the trail is going, right? And that takes a lot of work. We've got 2,000 plus volunteers.
Wow. Yeah, and 2,500 volunteers.
2,500.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and by the way, we call the volunteers our superheroes because they're out there doing the work, and they range from, somebody who might go out a couple times a year and take care of, a half a mile or a mile of trail, but other people get incredibly passionate. There's a maintainer in the Southern Gunks by the name of David Miller, and not to pick on him, but he was out, as much as 200 plus hours a year, almost to the point where it's like starting to become a second job. But he's just passionate about taking care of the trail and making it accessible to the public. And there's a lot of passion in that. By the way, we've got 2,500 volunteers, and then we've got a staff, including Hank, of about 30 people. So the Trail Conference is not a huge organization, but the 30 people in the staff are super dedicated, super professional. And this is a very flat organization. You've got 30 staff coordinating and organizing, 2,500 volunteers. That's a lean, mean fighting machine. But that coordination is important. In today's world, we were talking about DEC and the great job they do in parks and DEP in New Jersey. But there are more rules in today's world. So you can't have 2,500 volunteers just wandering all over the landscape. You need insurance, you need the approval from the landowning agencies.
Yeah.
One of the things when I was a volunteer supervisor, the DEC asked, can you please let us know when your volunteers are out doing work? And part of the reason for that, and that's a little extra coordination and a little extra hassle, but there's a real simple reason for that, because sometimes people go out and do rogue work. They go out and build their own trails for whatever reasons. And so the DEC is making sure they know who are the right volunteers doing, authorized work. And we're very careful to follow, all of their guidelines to the T, because that's the way things get done, is by being organized and professional. So that's what our staff helps us do, because we couldn't you couldn't have 2,500 volunteers without a really professional staff.
Yeah, so our staff of only 30 people supports over 2,000 volunteers,
right,
and allow those volunteers to log hundreds of thousands of volunteer hours. So last year it was over 102,000 hours of volunteer work on the trails. And in the Catskills alone, we have over 700 volunteers in the Catskills every year, and almost 4,000 hours are going into the are going to the trails, like specifically to the trails, and then the lean-tos and 27 lean-tos that the trail conference contains with volunteers. So there's a lot of hours, a lot of volunteers, and a small staff to support them and leverage them. With the Catskills, there's not that many partner organizations. The DEC, the Catskill Center, 3500 Club, the other organizations in the Catskills are our partners. But for the Trail Conference wide, including Northern New Jersey, we have 160 park partners, which is a lot of entities that we're getting permissions from and approvals from and cooperating with and coordinating with. And a lot of our trails don't stay within boundaries of a single unit and cross into a different county or a different town or a different management system or trail network or a different state. So there's a lot of coordination that the staff need to work on to allow the volunteers to do the work that they're passionate about. And that's lots of different things. It's not just trail maintaining, it's trail building or bridge building or contributing to the maps and making the maps more accurate and updating the maps, or invasive species identification or eradication or removal or monitoring, or all sorts of things. Helping write books, helping with our legal team, all sorts of things.
Yeah, everything all intertwined into one. It's
acquiring land too. We have a small fund, and we make not huge land acquisitions, but critical ones, like what do you call it in the arch, the capstone, the key acquisition. Then we can bring in partners. But I think it was a couple of years ago, the Trail Conference stepped in and bought a couple hundred acres near the Boschkill.
Oh yeah,
in the Southern Gunks, and that moved about a half a mile of the long path off roads and back into the forest. So we'll, the volunteer. By the way, the Long Path was created by the Trail Conference, and it's been a labor of love. It was first conceived of in the 1930s, and construction started in the 1960s. So people have been working on it for, help me, 60 years.
Yeah, right.
A long time, and it's been, lots of small acquisitions to get bits of the trail off the roads, and now it's, I think, 85% trail. There's only a few road walks left. I was driving around in the Southern Gunks on the way to a run in Wurtsboro, and just on some random rural road, and there were some aqua blazes on the trees. And so that must be 30 years old before the
Oh, wow.
creation of Sam's Point and Schwanghoek Ridge State Forest. So there's been a lot of effort over a long time to create the Long Path and other connector trails, Hudson Highlands Trail and the Schwanghoek Ridge Trail and others.
Yeah. And that's why I have you tonight to talk about the importance of the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. So thank you guys for the small talk. I appreciate it. So I'm going to get on to the sponsors and the supporters of the show. So if you don't mind, really quickly, thank you to the monthly supporters, Darren White, Vicky Ferrero, John Comiskey, Jim C., Michael Bongner, David Mead, Matt Smith, and Denise Weiss. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Also, thank you to Outdoor Chronicles Photography. Molly from Outdoor Chronicles Photography specializes in adventure elopement and adventure couple photography in the Catskills, Adirondacks, and the White Mountains. She is also an officiant for getting married and a licensed guide, but she is also a story maker. Molly won't just give you photos, she'll give you memories that will last forever. Don't hesitate to get a hold of Molly on all platforms. Also, have you ever wanted to learn more about hiking or backpacking, or even just brush up on your old skills in the backcountry? Check out Trailbound Project, a hiking and backpacking school, and they are there for you to learn old and new skills of hiking and backpacking. They teach anything from first aid to map and compass, and many other skills that can help you and others while on the trail. Check out them on their website and their social media on all platforms. They have updates daily on anything from learn to, like I said, compass, many other skills. So you guys drinking anything tonight?
I had a seltzer. My wife just got back from the grocery store and got these new seltzers that are blood orange seltzer. They're totally clear looking with bubbles, but they delicious.
That's fantastic. I'll take that.
I'm just drinking a cup of tea, but I could pour some grain alcohol into it if you like.
Any local stuff?
This no. I bought it in New Paltz, so maybe that counts. I don't know where they got it.
That's local. That's definitely local. I wouldn't say that's not local. So yeah. What about what would you pour into that, Ken? Tough question.
So that's a good question. Just hot water mostly.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like a local alcohol.
Well, I was just joking.
Okay. So once again, thank you, MJ Orchard, for buying 5 coffees. Really appreciate it for supporting the show. Once again, this is I gotta admit, this is not free. I actually do a lot of hard work for this, and do a lot of hard work for everything Catskills. I love the Catskills. Dedication. So you guys been on any previous hikes that you want to talk about? Hank, you first. You done any local hikes or anything like that you want to chat about?
I'll talk about the Ashokan Rail Trail.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I was involved with that before it was built, before it was converted from a railroad. And I remember the early site visits to see if it was going to be worthwhile to make a trail there, to see if it was going to be something that people might be interested in going to and walking on, and then the all the logistics and issues of a huge multi-million-dollar construction project, and then the designing a trail steward program of volunteers to welcome visitors and show people how to park and how to access and how to not go on the DEP parts where but to stay on the trail and not go down to the reservoir, which is right near it in many places. And so designing that steward program, but then witnessing the opening of the Ashokan Rail Trail in 2019, and the phenomenal visitation that followed. That just kept going up and up every spring and fall and summer, and then the pandemic spurred outdoor recreation everywhere, and the numbers continued to climb. And it's a absolutely beautiful trail. So flat, it's maybe we're all trying to set some form of a record when I'm 92. But not up and down 5,000 feet of the Grand Canyon. But yeah, it's a beautiful trail, and I just love the idea that it's I think it's 11 miles long, but it has 0 intersections with vehicles. It's there's not a single stop sign where a road or a stop light where a vehicle might come across you. It's completely absent of anything like that, the entire length of it.
Yeah. And with the rail trail, you could get amazing view of the Burroughs Range going, east or west. You can go west and get phenomenal views. And then you can go east and just get, views of beautiful reservoir. And I got to admit, that is one of the best spots to recommend for any family or anybody beginning out in the Catskills. As I always say, Ashokan Rail Trail, please go there. You will fall in love with the Catskills. You will fall in love with anything. That's where the place to start. And it's just a phenomenal area. And even driving over that bridge, it's just beautiful view of the Burroughs Range, and you can't get much better than that. Ken, how about you? Where were you at last time?
Well, I've had a busy summer, so I got up to Maine and New Hampshire and spent some time there. But I did a hike in the Catskills earlier this year, which was a lot of fun with another New York, New Jersey Trail Conference director, Juan Melli, one of our directors. He lives in Hoboken, and he wanted to work on his navigation skills. So we went and did Rusk, and Rusk is one of the peaks that does not have an official trail. And we spent some time working first on map and compass, and then we did something called natural navigation. You put away your compass and your GPS, and you make your way towards the objective without using technology tools, although you have them in your backpack in case you get turned around or confused. And that was a really good exercise. Everybody did really well, and they made it up, and we made it down. And I would every now and then just check to make sure we weren't wandering off in the wrong direction. But Rusk is a great first bushwhack because it's a relatively straightforward peak. And depending on what time of year you're there, you may well find that there's an emerging social trail that's gives you clues about the confirming that you're going the right way. Although obviously you want to be using GPS or compass and not relying totally on the social trail. For example, in the fall, that trusty social trail might be covered in freshly fallen leaves. Yeah. And it's a little bit more difficult to see. But that's a fun mountain to get out into the forest if you're going to do that kind of hiking or exploring.
Correct. And I agree with you on the drop and map and compass stuff like that, and follow the kind of terrain. I would say, the arm, you would find a distinct arm of the mountain and follow it up.
Yep.
Rusk once again is one of those dominant herd paths that if you go up the right side of the creek, you'll just keep following all the way up. But if you go up one of the rims, which is a fantastic hike, and it'll lead you up to a certain little viewpoint that not many people know about, but it's getting the word out there of it. Is really fun. And I did that kind of like on a West Hill a couple weeks ago, is I just followed the rim down, and you kind of like stay on that one side. You're like, oh, I'm drifting a little bit off the right, so let me go off to the left a little bit, or let me back and forth, and you eventually hit the bottom of the trail, and you'll hit the trail eventually. And it's just a matter of staying on that rim, and then also checking once in a great while on your maybe GPS or your map and compass that you're on the right spot, and you're just like, okay, I'm still on the rim. Let me keep going.
And that's a great skill to develop, because the risk of GPS or even compass is you spend your time looking at the needle, you spend your time looking at the dot, and you're not paying attention to your surroundings. And I know I've been guilty of the first time of that. The first time I got a GPS many years ago, I think I literally tracked where I was going, stopped and had lunch, and forgot it, left it behind, and wandered off. But if you're paying attention to the device, you're not paying attention to your surroundings. And I think the best solution is to be able to see the lay of the land, even when the foliage is out. There's always clues, and then you have the GPS as a check for safety reasons, but you're not staring at it the whole time. I once did a bushwhack up the side of Westkill, crossed the Westkill stream, and went straight up, and I found a pile of propane canisters and beer cans that must have been 20 or 25 years old. So I came back another time and, and policed those up, and that wasn't what I was hoping to discover. But when you find things like that, next time you bring a garbage bag and you clean it up.
Correct. Yeah, I think I know where you were on Westkill. I think I've.
Were those your beer cans?
No, not at all. No. You're right. Right. I'm a more liquor kind of guy. So.
All right.
But I think I know where you were. I was there a couple weeks ago. So. So yeah, awesome local spots to go. Once again, GPS navigation is critical. Map and compass, whatever, it's critical in the Catskills, especially if you're pursuing the 3500 Club with the Trailless Peaks. And we'll talk about that later, which I'm so excited to talk about. Once again, volunteer 3500 Club, New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, Catskills Trail Clue, Catskill Mountain Club Visitor Center. Anywhere, volunteer as you can. We'll be talking about that specifically tonight with the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. Cannot wait. Get your stickers at Camp Catskill. Once again, November 19th, we're going to have the 100th episode celebration. Yeah, so be there or do whatever you want, whatever. I think my dog would get the hint after 98 episodes that I'm doing something from 7 to 10 p.m. Nope.
Your dogs might be thinking that maybe it's time for you to get the hint that
well,
they need food or entertainment or something.
Well, my one dog is Jamaican, and she was rescued from the beach, so she's absolutely insane. She'll bark at anything that walks across the street, so she's hyper reactive. So once again, also, so let's get on the sponsors, and we'll get on to you guys real quick, okay? Is it time for some new gear hiking the Catskills? Say no more. Camp Catskill in Tannersville has all your hiking needs. Footwear, socks, moisture wicking shirts, freeze-dried meals, Catskill merchandise, and more. And most importantly, right now, microspikes. They have the essentials for your hiking needs, located in Tannersville and online. Check out Camp Catskill. If you want free stickers, stop here. Also, November 19th, Sunday, we are having a 100th celebration episode. Can't wait for it. So, also, if you're ready to hit the trails, make sure you take a scenic route. Our guides are here to help you with your goals, big or small, like Marcy or Slide or Alone Their Swords. Check out Scenic Route Guiding Gear Rentals on Instagram and Facebook for more information. Also, if you mention the podcast, you can get 10% off. Use the code word Mountain Lion. Also, check out Another Summit, a nonprofit program that leads outdoor adventure activities for veteran and first responders for free. Activities like walking or hiking or even backpacking and paddling trips. Check out anothersummit.org for more information and dates for future events. I did the Pemmy Loop in New Hampshire with these guys, and they're absolutely phenomenal, so check them out. All right. So let's get on to the guest of the night that have the small talk with me for like 30, 40 minutes.
Let's go.
Ken and Hank from the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. Ken Prosner is from the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. He has been here before. We've talked about his barefoot hiking. Hank Osborne is the director of programs for the Trail Conference, and Ken is a board member from the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. We're going to talk about how important these guys are to the Catskills and to the surrounding areas of the Catskills tonight. So welcome, Hank and Ken. How you guys doing tonight?
Thank you. Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Stash. Delighted to be here.
Yeah, phenomenal time once again. New York, New Jersey Carol Conference is very, very important to the Catskills and surrounding areas. So I welcome you to the show, and I support you guys 100% on this show and anywhere else, hopefully. So Hank, why don't you give us a background about yourself real quick?
Sure. So my name is Hank Osborne. I've been at the Trail Conference for 11 years. I started as a East Hudson program coordinator, where I focused on the trails on the east side of the Hudson River, away from the Catskills. And then after a few years, I became the senior program coordinator and worked with our Catskills program coordinator. So I started going to the Catskills and learning more about it. And now, as the director of programs, I'm looking after our experts that are managing the teams that do all of our work in the Catskills. So I work with our cartographer and our invasive species team and our trail building team and our trail maintenance people, our conservation corps, which is trail building, and also trail stewards, and the 700 volunteers that are working under the Trail Conference name to maintain the trails and lean-tos in the Catskills.
So Hank, really quick, you have a family history of New York, New Jersey Carol Conference, correct?
Yeah, so my family history with the Trail Conference, like going backwards from me, my mother was a board member, like Ken is now. She was a board member in the 90s, and also way back in the 30s, my great grandfather and great grandmother had some correspondence with the Trail Conference about moving the Appalachian Trail, where it comes across the Hudson, into what's now Hudson Highlands State Park, to get it off of the road walk where it was on Route 9D and into the woods. So there's some evidence of some Osborne history almost 100 years ago, corresponding with the Trail Conference. The Trail Conference was founded in 1920, so it's over 103 years old now.
Wow, unbelievable.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the history later. So that's awesome, Hank. I remember reading some stuff about the Osbornes built into the New York, New Jersey Carol Conference, and I can't wait to hear about that more. So Ken, what about you? How about your background?
Well, I got involved with the Trail Conference about 8 years ago, after I did a through run on the Long Path, and had a tremendous experience. And that's where I first really started to understand who the Trail Conference was, because that's a creation of the Trail Conference, as I mentioned earlier. And the Trail Conference has tremendous resources online that take you through every step of the trail, with not only directions, but also historical observations and observations about the parks and the preserves and the places that you're going through. So that's when after that is when I joined the board and also became a volunteer working on the Schwangang Bridge Trail. And I've been on the board since. And, the board, the staff and the volunteers are the people who do the work of the Trail Conference. The board is there just to make sure the organization is properly organized and has the policies and hits its budget and things like that. But the board, we really care about the mission. And so we've got a great board, a diverse board, bringing a lot of different perspectives. And we've got Catskills representation on the board, and people from other parts of the Hudson Valley. Our mission is just to help the organization do more, because there's so much in the Hudson Valley that we could do to help people connect, whether it's building or improving the trails, or, as we were talking earlier, educating people. So we've, and particularly as you get older, you realize, hey, I'm not, maybe I'll be doing something at 92, but I won't be doing anything at 192. So it's so important to get the next generations involved and excited about what we have here.
Absolutely correct. I was one of those. I will admit it. I was one of those peoples that I was like, hey, let's keep the Catskills to myself, kind of like a secret. But then I kind of grew up and I was just like, okay, so maybe I can show other people this and then I can educate them on how to keep this to the way that it should be and then to preserve it to the way that they can appreciate it and they can pass it on to the next generation. So I'm with you, Ken, right there. I was one of those guys that was just like, I'm not gonna talk about the Catskills, let's like, yeah, send them the Adirondacks, like go up there. No. But now I'm like, you know what? They need to see how beautiful the Catskills are. The more people we get there, the more education we can spend, like spread, and then the more people that would kind of help us out. And that's what I'm here for. It's the education and to spread the word about the New Jersey Trail Conference and to help out the Catskills. So phenomenal, once again, just to talk about the Catskills and to be like, the organizations that come together and to make this place the way it is just absolutely phenomenal. So what about the history? Hank, you talked about 120 years. That's pretty phenomenal. I never knew 120 years of the Trail Conference. Is that correct?
Well, it's 1920, so it's 103 years.
103, sorry.
Yeah, but 1920 to 2023. Yeah, so we're coming up on our 104th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah, we were founded as a federation of hiking clubs. So the term conference, which now it could be confusing to some people, it's kind of, I think of it sort of as a athletic conference where separate teams or separate clubs are all part of one entity. So when we were founded, it was all sorts of different hiking clubs that banded together to try to make sense of the trails within a few hours of New York City. So that was northern New Jersey and the Hudson Highlands and the Catskills. So trails were blazed or formalized or recorded or mapped, or all of those things, and it was all done with volunteers. And so the initial focus of the Trail Conference was coming right out of New York City, right out of Manhattan. And the first office of the Trail Conference was actually the first meeting, documented meeting of the Trail Conference, where it was actually born, was on the roof of the Abercrombie and Fitch building in Manhattan.
Wow.
Where when Abercrombie and Fitch was an outdoor retailer and sold all sorts of like outdoor camping, hiking type equipment and gear. And apparently there was a lean-to, a full size like lean-to replica on the roof of that building.
Wow.
In Manhattan. And that's where the first meeting of the Trail Conference happened and where it was formed in 1920. And our first real office was on Madison Avenue, and then later moved to Mahwah, New Jersey.
Mahwah. Awesome spot, by the way. I love that spot. Right outside of some of the state parks are correct.
Yeah, Mahwah. Yeah, and to me, Mahwah is it's the perfect location because the native people that were in this land before it was carved into states were the Lenape, and the Lenape word Mahwah means the meeting of the trails. And
oh wow!
The Trail Conference property, the new headquarters in Mahwah, abuts the Ramapo Reservation, which has trails in it that connect to the Highlands Trail and the Long Path, which connects to the Appalachian Trail, which connects to the Empire State Trail. So basically, you could walk from our Mahwah headquarters, the meeting of the trails, to Florida by going on the Appalachian Trail, or to Canada by going on the Empire State Trail, or to Maine on the Appalachian Trail. So it all links up. So there's footpaths that go all over the country, right from there. But yeah, so that's just another interesting fact.
Unbelievable. Ken, you want to add anything to the history?
Well, I think I think Hank covered it. I think that, as I mentioned earlier, the challenge today is we're in a very different world, and we need to coordinate very closely with state agencies like DEC and Parks and DEP, and so that's why the staff of the trail conference is so important. Very dedicated, very professional, providing that organization and coordination so that 2,500 volunteers can go out and do the great work that they do.
Yeah, and the with the increase in visitation, like, more and more people are discovering the outdoors and discovering nature and wanting access to trails. So the services that the Trail Conference provides and has been providing are now in more need, now in more demand than ever before. So we need to respond to this increased demand. So we're working to scale up and collaborate with partners in order to get the work accomplished and present a worthy product for these visitors. Basically, we're trying to help the public connect to nature. We're trying to make access to public open space. To me, that's what this is all about. What you were saying earlier about people getting into nature, and then to me, that means they're going to help protect nature, because if they learn about it and like it and realize that it's worth protecting, that's more people on our side, more people that are going to make decisions, whether that be not littering or voting a certain way, that may help nature's future.
That's right. We all value shopping malls to more or less extent, but where you put them matters, right? Now I was just going to comment because Stash, you mentioned the word volunteer, and Hank has as well, and it's a really, I think, important spirit in the community in New York and New Jersey that people are willing to volunteer and excited to do that. And the fact is, state budgets are always under pressure, so Parks and DEC and DP and private landholders too, where we work on the trails, they really depend on the volunteers because they do not have the budgets to just go out and do the work that we're doing. Not even close.
Correct. And that's once again, that brings me to the point of bringing more people out into nature so they can volunteer more. If they fall in love with it, then they will volunteer more. To be honest, I kind of feel proud of myself for this podcast because, 3 or 4 people have reached out to me and said they have adopted trails. And I'm just tremendous. Yeah. And I'm just like, wow, like just through my podcast, are you serious? And, that's a big deal. Like maybe somebody's covering 2 miles of trail. That's 2 miles left unoccupied. That might be, just sitting there decaying out of time and stuff like that. Once again, the Catskill Trail Crew has been done a phenomenal work in the Catskills, and they hook up, with anybody and everybody they can to keep our trails clean. And just like the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, like, I'm with them for my section of trail, and many people of them. So speaking of that, how many do you have any stats for the conference, like miles? We know that it's been 101 years now, or
yeah. So the trail conference is conference wide. We've adopted and maintained 2,165 miles of trail.
Wow.
So that's and pretty much every inch of those 2,100 miles is assigned to a person or a group to maintain it and make sure it's passable, and to report issues that may need remedies, such as chainsaw work or bridge repairs or rerouting or all sorts of things like that. But in the Catskills alone, we have almost 300 miles of trails that the Trail Conference is maintaining. And that's with 700 volunteers. And
wow.
A very, very interesting fact is that not long ago, just pre-pandemic, like leading in 2019, we had a vacancy rate of worse than 50% in the Catskills, vacant positions. So we had sections of trail that that didn't have a maintainer assigned to them. And so it was less than half the trails were filled at that time, and it had been a few years running where we were really looking for people to fill those spots. And as of the start of this year, 2023, our vacancy rate is 0. So we have filled every single space of every volunteer leader position too. So we have I think it's 40 volunteer leaders. They're supervisors or chairs of trail chairs or lean-to chairs or supervisors of different sections of trails together. And we had to fill over 20 of those. And the interesting part though is that some people moved up from maintainer to a leadership role of supervisor or chair, but we had 18 people that were outside of our organization that came in and became leaders, and we trained them. So I just want to kind of be clear. I'm saying that our vacancy rate of leaders has gone to 0. We actually have maybe a handful of maintainer positions in the Western Catskills where we could have a few more volunteers, but Eastern Catskills there's a waiting list. Lean-to maintainers, there's a waiting list.
Wow.
So we're in a very good place. We've onboarded and trained so many people. It's a huge success story. We've capitalized on the recent interest in the last few years of people wanting to get outside, and it's allowed us to give the trails the attention that they need.
Well, Ken, you want to say anything about that? That's phenomenal.
Well, I would emphasize a couple of the points that Hank made. For example, training. And there's a lot of ways to get involved, but the basic maintainer's job is you take a mile or a half a mile of trail and you just trim back the vegetation, and you might need to repaint the blazes and report bigger problems. It's pretty simple, but there's a right way to do things. There are standards. And so the training that Hank mentioned is real important. And then there are leadership positions. A supervisor might be in charge of 5 or 6 maintainers and just helping make sure that, if there are vacancies, they may have to recruit people, or sometimes you'll get the crew together and do a bigger project. There are also ways to get involved if you don't want to commit to a portion of trail. Sometimes there are crews that will work on projects, and you can just sign up and get involved on those when you have the free time. So there's lots of ways to get involved in, but it takes organization. So some of Hank's colleagues are focused on training and keeping track of the volunteers and communications with the volunteers, and we're coordinating with the state agencies, and that's all very, very important. And you get a professional organization, and then you get the volunteers getting out and doing the work the right way that needs to be done. And the result is, better trails and more people able to get out there and experience nature.
Yeah, we really pride ourselves on the trainings. We've really worked hard to develop really strong curriculum for our trainings, and we are rebranding and relaunching our Trail University program. So this coming spring, you will hear more about Trail U. And
nice.
You can read about it already on our website, NYNJTC.org, the Trail Conference website.
The Trail Conference also has some specialized knowledge among some of the volunteers and some of the crews. And Hank, you know this stuff real well, I'm sure, but there's a whole nother level where you talk about building or repairing trails. So it's manual work that's very intensive, but also requires a lot of skill. For example, moving rocks around, heavy boulders, using pulleys and cables. And some people, that's their version of CrossFit, right? Or that's their version of, building their own garden. So and that's something we talk about a little bit. How could we increase the capacity? Because there are a lot of trails out there. There's so much work we could do. There are a lot of trails out there that are quite old, and they were originally logging trails, and they were not built to be sustainable. People didn't understand how badly, water and rain would erode the surface. And so if we could get more people involved in the more technical aspect of trail building, there's a lot of work we could be doing.
Oh yeah. Especially on those like you said, those eroded trails and those difficult sections. A lot of the Northeast is built upon getting to the top the fastest,
Right.
the straightest route, and a lot of people don't understand the importance of switchbacks.
Right.
And that's of course trail erosion and stuff like that. You notice once again, I have Thomas Cole to Camel's Hump. That's my area, but going up to Thomas Cole or going up to Camel's Hump is a fantastically built trail that has switchbacks. More towards the area of Thomas Cole, it's or Camel's Hump. It's not well built, but the switchbacks are a huge importance, and that's the problem we have to face here in the Northeast is how do we build these great trails from these old log roads or these old well-traveled areas that once the Native Americans once built that traveled from peak to peak and stuff like that. So, and that's where the volunteers come in, is where we need 10 people for 3 days to make this awesome trail that is only 0.25 miles long, make a massive difference in your time out in the Catskills and your enjoyment out in the Catskills.
Yeah, the science of technical trail building takes into account the slope of the trail, the steepness of the trail, but also the angle of the tread itself, so that water definitely doesn't run down the trail, but will flow right off the edge of the trail. So all those calculations, there's an awful lot of math that goes into actual trail layout and design when constructing a sustainable trail, which is what the Trail Conference does with these old historic trails that didn't they weren't the idea at the time that they were built was not to exist for 100 years or longer like the trails that we build now. It was to get some farm equipment somewhere quickly.
Or get trees down. Just get the trees down. And I was on probably the worst trail of my life. Maybe some of your listeners have been up to Mount Isolation in New Hampshire, but about a mile of it is literally a stream bed, and it was raining when I was out there. I mean, when I say a stream bed, it's like 6 inches of water, and you're bouncing from rock top to rock top. There's nothing in the Catskills that's quite that bad, but there are certainly trails that could be improved, like where the long path goes over the shoulder of Catterskill High Peak. That's got some mud pits and some. So you could spend a lot of time improving trails everywhere in the Northeast for sure. But and that's something the board is focused on. How can we get more grants? How can we get more contributions? How can we increase the capacity of the Trail Conference, not only to maintain trails, but to really repair and renovate some of the trails that need it? And we had this freak weather over the summer. We had some severe rainstorms, and I'm not sure how badly the Catskills got hit, but Harriman got just trashed. And so, that's a challenge for us right now, figuring out how to repair, how to marshal the resources to do the work that that's out there to be done.
Yeah. And, we're going to skip over this and we'll kind of revamp into this. But Ken, you just talked about the flooding in Harriman. How did you guys face that extremely difficult situation in the flooding in Harriman? I remember you actually had to tell through hikers to kind of go around it, that this section was closed. How did you guys handle that?
Well, I mean, the park make those kinds of decisions.
Okay.
Because they had such significant damage. I mean, it's our job to get out there and then see what we can do to help rebuild those trails.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had to assess it safely. So in the beginning, we weren't even it wasn't even safe to have access. So our volunteers weren't able to look at, inspect, and assess immediately the scope and scale of what needed to happen, because we needed to make sure it was safe for people to go in there. So eventually our volunteer leaders were able to go in and look and see, holy cow, there was a lot of destruction to trails and to roads and all sorts of infrastructure. And then after that, it was all tallied up, and it's an enormous expense. A lot of funding will be required to bring it back. And in some cases, there's some great opportunities to build a sustainable trail where it should have been done in the first place. But also in other cases, it's kind of too bad. There was some really, really beautiful stonework that was destroyed, that people put a lot of effort into not too long ago.
Right. It's insane to think that not too like you said, not too long ago, that this could be destroyed by one event.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So like with that, I mean that's I don't care if this is not the Catskills, but that was a huge traumatic event on the area, and it could impact any area. You know, we could have the flood problems anywhere. So when you guys, when your people went to access it, what was your thoughts on the Harriman flooding and stuff like that? You'd have to reroute a lot of stuff, or what was your plan?
Yeah, so all sorts. It was like a multi-prong approach, because we had these the time of year that it happened. We have these thru hikers going from Georgia to Maine, which should be going right through Bear Mountain. And we needed to help them find how to navigate around. But we also have to put together all the plans for how to approach all, like, so many different areas needing so much work. So just a lot of planning. And I'll plug again our website, where you can find incredible articles about the Harriman damage and links to our Trail Walker, which is our quarterly newsletter, which the cover story is all about the Harriman damage. And it's you can find on the website NYNJTC.org, and it's phenomenal imagery of the scale and scope. But to answer your question, it was multi-prong approach of different assessment needed for different approaches, and then the funding needs to come from somewhere. There's we have our budgets planned out well in advance, and our budgets include the standard like amount of like wear and tear and erosion, but these newer, more furious, more intense storms that are coming through are more kind of, maybe we should be expecting them more often now, but I still consider them like totally unexpected and out of the blue. Just if you remember, just a few years ago, right across the river, there was this microburst of like a tornado, which knocked down thousands of trees on the Appalachian Trail, and our volunteers logged something like 2,000 hours trying to clean up one small section where it was like 1,000 trees or something that had to be cut to bring the trails back. And now the invasives have just gone crazy because all these trees fell down, and the sunlight has come in, and the forest floor has erupted with invasive species,
berries and stuff like that.
There are plenty of events. Was it a couple of years ago? There was a very intense fire in the Schwangans, and one of the rangers showed me some video. And this was not a little grass fire. This was tall trees burning all the way up to the crowns. And so we've had to have volunteers out there working with Minnewaska to reroute the long path, because the bulldozers came in and took down or made fire lines to stop the the flames, but that trashed the trails, unfortunately. But that was the right trade-off, I guess. So there's plenty to keep people busy on. And Hank, I'm thinking back. Was it Irene in 2011? And the Catskills really got
Oh
a
yeah.
Yeah,
lot
and
of
Yep.
Sandy.
damage
The
back
Catskills, I
then.
think, Superstorm Sandy in the
Was that right?
Catskills.
And I remember there was a section of the Long Path in the southern Catskills where, again, there was hundreds of trees down. And so
Yeah.
it was a multi-year project of chainsawing to finally clear that out.
Yeah. And that's one of the bigger difficulties we face is how we bring these massive amount of people in to help these catastrophic events. Like you said, massive amounts of trees being down to block the trails, mass flooding to help these areas. Do you guys kind of send out like a microburst of emails to help get people's out? Like, what's your method of getting these bigger difficulties that you face?
Yeah, so our volunteer structure is set up really well to handle things like this because we have a volunteer chair, or the whole region would have a volunteer leader that manages the whole region. So we have a chair, and then that chair communicates directly with the supervisors who manage the maintainers. But then that chair also interacts with the crew chiefs of the chainsaw crews or the trail building crews. So there's not as much chainsaw work in the Catskills because the staff of the DEC do that work. But like in the Hudson Highlands, crews of 20 plus volunteers with chainsaws, each one having what's called a swamper, which is the assistant or backup person that spots for safety and helps clear the logs. And even so that all that communication helps the response, and that they figure out the timing and what day they're going to go out and what time they're going to meet and where they're going to meet and which trailhead or parking area and what trail to hike to get to which set of blowdowns. But before that, all the blowdowns need to be like evaluated and inventoried and marked on a map and GPS. So they are clearing the right ones and not going somewhere. A very frustrating thing for a volunteer to do is get all their heavy chainsaw equipment and gasoline and everything up the mountain and find that it's the blowdown has been cleared by someone else already. So we need our reporting and everything to work seamlessly enough that we avoid frustrating any volunteers. And we want this work to be satisfying, rewarding, and enjoyable. So we need to track it all. And we need to inventory it, and we need to keep the data and update it in real time. So so it's all about management. I don't know, like the crisis management. I don't know. So it's about communication and the chain of command.
Communication, coordination of everybody has to like all combine into one, especially with these crazy events that we've been having, like the fires, the flooding is really crazy, to think about within the past. I've been hiking in the Catskills since 2015, and I can't remember, I remember a little fire on Southwest Hunter a little while ago, back in 2016, I believe, but nothing as crazy as, the gunks had in that one little area, watching the whole mountain burn. And, the flooding craziness right in that, I watched a video of that going on Bear Mountain, was just like, wow, this is absolutely insane to think that this happened. I haven't seen this since, like you said, Hurricane Irene or Hurricane Sandy was absolutely insane. And for the coordination and the timing of everybody to come together and unite as one shows the passion we have for the Catskills and the Hudson Valley area. And the trail conference brings that together, brings the passion together. And we can all, like I say all the time, we can all unite as one, and we can. Hate to say this, I'm sorry to go a little hardcore, but we can kick some effing ass here in the Catskills, in the Hudsons, all together as a volunteer group, as an organization. And it just explodes with joy when I see this. So let's get on to one of my favorite topics, the Trailless Peak Survey. So what do you guys got to say about the Trailless Peak Survey? Let's get into that amazing discussion.
All right, so I'll start with the recent RFQ that the DEC put out, requesting quotes for basically for organizations to put together a quote or a package proposal for how to collect surveys and how to make recommendations to the department for what should happen with these 19 trailless peaks, or formerly trailless peaks, or peaks with unofficial trails on them, or unmarked trails. And the trail conference received the award, or our quote was accepted. So basically, the trail conference was hired as the consultant for the department, and we took the survey that was basically almost identical to what the department had used in previous years. And that way we can compare it with, we can compare the data and the answers that we get this time around with what was reported in previous years. So we didn't do too many updates. There are a few updates, but we tried to keep it as consistent as possible. And the last time that it was done last year, I think it was the most successful one, and they were able to collect 168 fully answered surveys. Now, and that was over a 1 month period. We're doing the same calendar month period this year, and we are up to, I think we're just over 750. So we're very pleased. We're very pleased with how many people we're connecting with and getting fully completed surveys. And the next stage of this is we'll look at all these the answers basically, and that's going to reveal what the people that take the survey feel about these peaks. So we're going to look at what the survey takers feel about the peaks, and also what the trail conference knows in its own expertise about sustainable trails and nature and the public accessing nature, and our expertise with native plants and fragile ecosystems and endangered plants and animals and birds and summit ecosystems, and look at and we have experts in all those fields at the trail conference, and on staff and our volunteers, and we will put together suggestions or proposals or recommendations to the department for how to respond. And it's too early to say much about that, except it may be a different response for each of the 19 trailless peaks. It might not be the same answer for everything. So, for example, it might make sense to formalize some trails in some places, and formalize and even blaze, or it might make sense to close some trails that were formed by overuse in areas that maybe shouldn't have a trail there because it's going into some sensitive habitat that might be healthier if people are avoiding it. Things like that. So
definitely a controversial topic. I had a great discussion with Matt Smith back in, I think it was episode 52, about the informal trails. And, that was, God, I can say a year ago, when the DEC first started to come out with that kind of information.
Yes, I would have been probably around a year ago today, because this is the time of year that the survey was done last year as well.
Yeah. So it's once again not it's tough for you guys to bring out your own opinion on this because you work for the New Jersey the Trail Conference. You also represent them. It's tough to bring out your own opinions, and there's a lot of different places where you can say, "Oh, this is a great trail. We can blaze it. Let's do it." To my opinion, stuff from Lone to Rocky, it's going to be tough to blaze it, but it's going to be easy because there's not that much elevation gain. Uh, Places like from Hunter to Rusk is absolutely insane with their trail erosion, with the no switchbacks would go straight up the freaking trail, and it's ruining the area. It's definitely professional versus unprofessional opinion. It's tough because the professionals know their stuff. The unprofessional is going to say like, I'd rather take the shortest route up, but it's all over the place. It's definitely a big discussion in the Catskills because we are one of the few trails in the places in the Northeast that have this competition that you have to bushwhack these certain peaks. And now, to be honest, I've like I said, I've only been hiking since 2016. The difference has been astronomical to when I hiked up Rusk my first time, and I didn't use the trail, and now I'm just like, well, here's the trail. I guess we could either follow it or we could not follow it and create another trail. What the hell do we do? That's a whole question. What the hell do we do now? Right?
Yeah. Have you answered the survey? Have you completed the survey?
Can I say that more than once? I've done it several times.
No, thank you. No, the survey, we're really hoping that lots of people will do it. The more people that answer it, the smaller our margin of error is, and that can be, you can just Google Catskill Trail
right.
Catskill Trail Survey. It'll be the first hit, Catskill Trail Survey on Google, but also the Trail Conference website and the DEC's website have it as well. But it's going to be, yeah. So as I was saying before, we're going to take into account what the answers are in this survey. All these, it may be over 1,000 answers, 1,000 participants, and the Trail Conference expertise. But then the state, the department has their experts, their biologists, and they know the sensitive areas, and they it's going to be a whole bunch of people trying to figure out the absolute best way to approach this and respond to it and manage it. There's a potential for people to have different opinions from each other.
Yeah. Complicated. It's to say it as a millennial, complicated AF. To be political, to be as correct as possible, but it's complicated for this, as you can see, once traveling from Table to Lone, I didn't follow a trail. And a year ago, I followed a trail from Table to Lone. And I was just like, wow, the difference has been insane. Going down from Lone into the Neversink, you can follow a trail now. It's just, it's totally insane. Ken, what are your thoughts about this subject?
Well, I think the good news, because, Stash, as you put it, there's the potential for people to have different points of view, and that's for sure. That's a guarantee. But, this is going to be a very thorough process. So whatever the decisions are, and as Hank points out, they could be different for different peaks. They're going to be the best decisions that people can make with the information. And so they'll be thoughtful decisions. Personally, my experience, I think the social trails are some of the best trails and the most fun experiences in the Catskills. And I haven't been on them in the last year, so I'm thinking maybe back a few years when I did a lot of hiking in the Catskills. But you learn to find the little hints that people have gone this way before. And so you're paying attention and you're engaged. It's not you're on autopilot just following blazes. So I appreciate the magic of these trails. But I also understand that people, when you get into the peak bagging mode, you want to get to the trail, and with less complication. When I did the Adirondacks a few years back, and they're quote unquote bushwhacks. They're unmarked trails, but they're very clearly maintained, and they even have ladders in places, and you can tell the brush is cut back. So there's all sorts of options here. You can have blazed and maintained. You can have maintained but not blazed, or you can just have the informal trails. But whatever they decide, I mean, if you get into bushwhacking, right, and moving through the forest, there's an infinity of places and directions you can go. So I'm sure some people will disagree with taking an informal trail and making it official. But if that does happen, if that's the right answer, there'll be, other ways. Like we were talking about earlier, Stash, I mean, for like North Dome and Sherrill, you can go up those mountains, 6 or 7 different ways. And whatever
Yep.
they decide to do, they're not going to make 6 or 7 different trails. So there'll
Right.
always be that opportunity, whether you're coming from Shaft Road or the DEP parking spot on Spruceton, or from Peck Hollow or whatever. There's always going to be different ways to go for the people who want that really magical, special experience, which requires more skills and more
Yep.
experience. So it'll be possible for everybody to be mostly happy.
Right.
Not completely happy, but mostly happy. There'll still be lots of opportunities for people to connect with nature in the way that makes sense for them.
And I like to compare our trails to what is kind of like New Hampshire's trails, where they basically have almost like 4 points going up to the mountain. They have different trailheads, different areas. You can choose the easiest approach. You can choose the hardest approach, medium, stuff like that. And eventually that's the way it's going to be. It could be, a very, very long time from now, very, very long time. But eventually, going down some of these trails, going even down, up is okay, but down, going down from Lowen to, the Neversink, you got to admit there's some sketchy areas where you're slipping like crazy. Rusk, like you said, Rusk has you kind of like, there's shale and crap like that where you're just, you don't want to do this, especially in the winter. So,
or Catterskill High Peak in the winter is can be interesting, particularly going down the north side. I think that's claimed a few victims. By the way, that's somewhere that will teach you the difference between spikes and hiking crampons.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. And, and that's why we have the trail conference here, the DEC here, to bring the professional guidance on, where should we build this trail? It's kind of inevitable that we're going to have to build trails up to these peaks now. I wouldn't say that this is going to die out. It's kind of going to flatten out, but there's never going to be a time where we're going to see these trails disappear. That's going to be too long. We've seen it on Graham and Double Top, where they said it's kind of faded away, but it's not, and it's been a year and a half now.
Because a lot of the trails, up in the peaks are through thickets.
Yep.
And so one of the cool things, and again, this is a few years back, going from say Friday to Balsam Cap, right? Or even from the trail by Cornell to Friday, the trail starts to appear as just not quite so many branches sticking you as you go by, right? But once that branch gets broken off, it's going to take a while for a new branch to grow. So the increased use is going to turn a ghost of a trail into something that's pretty obvious. And at that point, once it's that obvious, you might as well formalize it, because otherwise you'll get braided trails, right? You'll get people going left, or some people go right, a tree falls down, and we don't want to have a rabbit warren. Like in some of the trailless peaks right by the summit, you start to get a rabbit warren of different trails. And, it's not like that's going to permanently destroy nature, but it starts to become sort of gross. So when you get that degree of usage, you have to have probably a more formal usage plan, would be my guess. Not trying to not trying to get in front of DEC, but that would be my guess. I think you and I are sort of saying the same thing.
Correct. And when the DEC did their informal trails presentation, I found it amazing to look at the Strava stuff like that and to see how many insane amount of trails, how many people followed going up to Rocky. Like it looked like 7 different types of hands were around there because
Really? Oh, how interesting.
I'll have to send you that because I posted looking at the Strava heat maps going up to it kind of disturbed me going up to Rocky and to like North Dome. It's just going up from the Devil's Path. Somebody didn't follow one path. It was like 18 different paths going up, and then finally it kind of sucked.
That's interesting. That's interesting. That sort of surprised me. I would have thought everybody would be more following the same compass heading, but I'm guilty of taking a GPS and just staring at it and going around in circles. So, and to some extent, it's a chance for people to learn and develop skills, and you learn by trying and not being perfect. But we also have to be cognizant of having armies of people trampling everything in sight. So it's a trade-off.
Yeah, and like I said, we have professionals from the Trail Conference, DEC, volunteers throwing out their bits of information for this informal trail surveys that we have. And I can very grateful for the Trail Conference to be involved with this because we have number one the manpower of the volunteers and from the people who are hiking these trails to participate in their information to give to the DEC and be like, what should we do with these informal trails that are becoming, I wouldn't say a problem, but a question mark on the Catskills. Mm-hmm. And it's a big controversial topic that I like to, I could talk about this for 200 episodes because
but here's the point too. If it is controversial, people who have strong opinions should go to the website and express their opinions, and that way they know they'll be heard.
Correct.
That's how we work things out when there's no perfect solution.
If you're listening to this episode, to add in the comments that you want the people from the DEC to talk to me about this on this episode, because I'm trying so hard to get with the DEC about talking about this because it's a tough topic. But when I was on that the informal trails kind of like presentation, there was a great amount of people. There was over 125 people participating in this Zoom conference that I was just like, whoa, wow, this is a big, huge impact on the Catskills. This is crazy, but once again, check out the trail survey, the informal trail survey. I'll have that in the links. I actually posted several times about this because it's very important for the Catskills, and it's very important to get the information out there about the informal trails that we have here in the Catskills on our bushwhacks. I will say that quotes right there, quotation marks. Let's get on from the crazy talk of the informal trails like we always have. So what have been the Trail Conference's best accomplishments from both of you? Hank, first, what do you think your greatest accomplishment has been with the Trail Conference?
I mentioned earlier the filling of the vacancies in the Catskills. That's like a great success story, because going from less than 50% to full slates of volunteer leadership is a great success. Our trail steward program in the Catskills is another huge success story. We only started, our first trail stewards were less than 10 years ago, and we've expanded that program pretty much every year. And other organizations are providing stewards to locations where we aren't. So we're on summits, and the more challenging trails to those summits, but we are not necessarily at the front country locations in the Catskills like the Blue Hole. But this past year, just this past season, which is kind of coming to a close now. We're in November, early November now, but we were able to interact with almost 12,000 visitors to the Catskills.
Wow.
So that's up pretty much every year. We're able to connect with more and more people, and that's likely because more and more people are coming, but also we're fine tuning our programs to intersect and do the timing of the day to be at the places when the people are getting there. But we actually helped with our trail stewards. We helped avoid almost 50 rescues. So we helped 44 groups or individuals get out of the woods without requiring an official rescue. And we provided some first aid, and we also helped basically identify illegal camping situations, and then we call it confronting the illegal campers, but it's basically just educating the visitor that how to camp the way that the regulations dictate. And then also our stewards they always remove dozens and dozens of fire rings. This year they removed over 50 fire rings.
Wow.
So that's another huge success for our Catskill stewards. And just keeping it to the Catskills, our most successful map, the Trail Conference is making maps almost the entire 100-year history of the Trail Conference, and we really pride ourselves on our maps. But our most successful map set is the Catskills map, and it just moved into first place, and it may be because Harriman has been closed, but because Harriman has had the first place spot before, but the Catskill new revision. So the new edition is the 2023 edition of the Catskills map. That's our best-selling map set.
Awesome. Yeah. So one thing that you guys need to do is get up to EMS in Albany and get your maps up there, because they have National Geographic maps and they suck compared to the Trail Conference maps. I told them, I looked at them, I'm just like, you have National Geographic. This is like the crappiest maps for the Catskills. Stop. Grab yourself some New York, New Jersey.
Yeah, so actually, the retail stores within the Catskills, we're in over 20 retail stores in the Catskills with our maps.
Okay, awesome. Camp Catskill, by the way.
All right.
Yeah. So once again, even though Hank said, we have filled those spots as a vacancy of
leadership,
leadership, volunteering, stuff like that, we still need a lot of volunteering. So get with New York, New Jersey Trail Conference for volunteering, because there's still places that could be helped out, that people could just reach out and help out as partnership as well. Because, I got to admit, I got to hike up all the way up to Camel's Hump and then do Camel's Hump to Thomas Cole. That's 2 miles to hike up to my area. And then I got to do that crappy section in between Camel's Hump and Thomas Cole. Is just absolutely crappy. I don't know if you guys ever been up there, but it's
pretty. You've got a lot of berry brambles up there, right?
Yeah, 100% correct.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. I love it. I will never give it away. But how about you, Ken? What can you say that you've seen the best accomplishments from the Trail Conference?
Well, I'm a big fan of the long path, as I mentioned. Yep. We were talking earlier. The Trail Conference conceived the idea in the 1930s and started working on it in the 1960s. So it's been 60 years of volunteer work, 1 mile at a time. When I ran it in 2013, I just had a life changing experience. It was such a beautiful and historically significant trail. So that's one of the accomplishments that I think it's just a tremendous asset. I think the long path is still underappreciated. So one of the things the board is thinking about as we look at the organization's strategic plan is how to bring more attention and how to continue to improve these signature long distance trails, including also the Highlands Trail and the SRT. I was going to mention, in case your listeners had not heard about it, a young woman by the name of Kim Lewinsky just set a new woman's record for the long path, running the entire 358 miles in just over 9 days. And that's one way to experience the long path. Another woman by the name of Heather Housekeeper hiked it with her husband, and they took a more conventional time. But Heather's an expert in botany and the plants and what you can eat and what has medicinal properties. So she wrote a great book called Love and the Long Path. There's so many different ways to experience the long path, but I think it's such a great alternative to the Appalachian Trail because speaking as somebody who has never been able to take 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months off to do the Appalachian Trail and all 2,000 miles, the long path at 358 miles is much more reasonable. You could do it once, you can section hike it. There are plenty of roads so that it's logistically you can plan your route with lots of options. And the Trail Conference has great resources available online. So I think there's an opportunity for more people to get out and have that kind of experience. And it's exciting every time you see somebody finish it in whatever way they do it.
Yeah, the long path is a really exciting trail. Just the fact that we have this trail that goes from the George Washington Bridge from Manhattan, from New York City, all the way to the Adirondacks. It's incredible that exists, and that every year it's getting more and more into the woods and more off of paved roads, and it's really enjoyable now as it is, and it's only going to get better. It's one of the trails that when it is in the Catskills, we do have a few vacancies for the long path for maintainers. So if people are interested in volunteering for trail maintenance, we do have space for them to maintain sections of the long path. That, and in addition to Western Catskills, those are the vacancies for volunteer positions that we have available.
Yeah. Once again, volunteering, 2 days out of the whole year can make a huge difference in any trail possible in the Catskills, the Harriman State Park, anywhere in the United States can make a massive difference. Trust me. You take a trail that hasn't been maintained for years. There's overgrown ferns, there's overgrown pricker bushes, there's logs down, stuff like that. But if you maintain that twice out of the year, maybe like 10 hours, not even 8 hours, you can make a whole difference, and you can make that trail enjoyable. And that's what the Trail Conference brings here to the Catskills and to the surrounding areas of New York State, and to the long path. Once again, the long path has been a massive improvement with the Trail Conference in the past couple of years. It's like a couple of years. It's been insane of what we have created, or what the Trail Conference has created in the walking paths along the roads, and then they've converted that over into actual trails where you can enjoy, not getting hit by a car or something like that. Right. Somebody zipping by you and just like, what the heck? So the long path has become a huge, fantastic improvement with New York State and the New Jersey Trail Conference. And I'm excited to see every year progress better and better with that, and with all the other hiking trails in the Catskills. So one of the questions I have, besides volunteering is the biggest. What can we do as casual hikers? Volunteer, right?
Become educated, more educated. Utilize some of the material and resources and content that the Trail Conference has available for free in many cases, and consider taking part in a workshop to learn not just trail maintenance and trail building, but all sorts of various topics, workshops and events that are designed to enlighten, educate, inspire, and maybe a leave no trace workshop.
Leave no trace.
Yeah. We have the Trail Conference has 3 master educators on staff, and we also have volunteer trainers that are trained in leave no trace principles that can teach others and certify other people in the Leave No Trace curriculum. So that's something that the more people that understand that, the better. And like we were saying earlier about role models, the more people that are doing it right, the more the other people will follow in those footsteps.
And my thoughts?
No, I think Hank said it real well. I mean, I would just say, you could start just by showing respect to the trail and the surrounding area. And one thing I think a lot of folks do in the Catskills is if you see a little bit of trash, just bend over and pick it up and put it in your pocket. And
Correct.
sometimes it's just the corner of a power bar, or sometimes the little heating, the little chemicals and people put in their gloves to hand warmers. You see those, or part of the baskets on the bottoms of trekking poles to catch the snow. You sometimes see those. Or once I saw a pair of shorts with red, white, and blue. So you'll see, or a hat or a scarf or whatever. But yeah, the Catskill trails are, my experience, pretty clean. So I know that, there's some people who drop something, and I'm sure I've dropped something, inadvertently in my career, and other people, pick something up and just leave the place a little bit nicer than it was before.
Correct. And I carry 4 plastic bags with me, 2 for my feet when I have to do water crossings, which is very rare, and then 2 for like garbage cleanup. And my wife kind of is sick and tired of me doing garbage cleanups because she wants to get down to the car, and
Right.
I'm back, quarter of a mile, be like, oh, I got to clean this up. I got to do my part in being a steward and being a teacher of the Catskills. And it's so easy. Just pick it up, bring it out, throw it away. It's not difficult. So Ken, once again, thank you. Leave no trace. Basically, leave no trace. Simple, freaking simple. So any future events you guys want to yell out that we can give? I mean, it's winding down to winter, so future events are kind of limited.
Yeah, I would say the answer is on the Trail Conference website. There's a whole list of the upcoming events. Like,
all right,
just on our website, and also a great way to see what's going on is by signing up for our emails, sign up for our newsletters, and you'll be alerted when there's events that might interest you. There's like a photography workshop coming up later.
Oh wow.
There's a Appalachian Trail work trip. There's trail layout and design workshop. There's introduction to trail maintenance. There's just all sorts of interesting. There's native plants landscaping work day. There's all sorts of interesting things coming up. That's just we've got almost every weekend there's something happening.
Sweet. So get yourself involved with the Trail Conference with anything that you can, and you can learn so much more, basically. So awesome. So one last question: post-hike brews and bites. What do you guys suggest after doing a great hike in the Catskills, or even the Hudson Valley area? What do you guys suggest for something to eat or drink? Ken?
Well, I'll give you that. I think I gave you the exact same answer the last time I was here, which is, I go to Brews, and sometimes there's a coffee for the drive back, or sometimes it's more than that. They've got good burgers. There's a place in Tannersville too I like, but I'm drawing a blank on its name.
Is it burgers?
No, it's a place that's got I think they've got cheeses inside.
Oh, that's a new one.
I'll look it up on my phone if you give me enough.
Take a second, and then we'll go to Hank. What about you, sir?
I would say Hudson North Cider.
Ooh, that sounds good.
And people should look it up and realize that they support trails in our region.
Hell yeah. I think I've only had one person suggest that before, but I totally support that. That's awesome. God, that's a far drive for me, but I'm definitely I got to make the trip down there.
So in Tannersville, it's Last Chance Antiques and Cheese Cafe.
Heck yeah. So speaking of that, that might be the after party to my 100th celebration.
Okay.
So if anybody wants to go there afterwards, I'm thinking Last Chance is right across the street. So once again, November 19th, 100th episode celebration. If you can make it, you can make it. If not, we're going to do a live broadcast from there. So once again, thanks, Ken and Hank, for joining me on this podcast, for taking your time out of 2 hours to talk about the amazing effects of the trail conference that they've had on our trails here in the Hudson Valley and the Catskills. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys had a good time. Really, I'm very thankful of the trail conference, and please spread that word around of everybody, because you guys have done a major impact on the Catskills and the Hudson Valley area. So thank you guys for joining me tonight.
All right, you're welcome, and thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Stash, thank you. Thank you for giving us a chance to talk a little bit about what the trail conference does. Really appreciate it.
Hey, I had a phenomenal time. Once again, thank you to the monthly supporters and the monthly sponsors. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you to everyone who has donated, and thank you to everyone who is listening. Big thanks to Ken and Hank for joining me tonight for the show. So hopefully to see you guys again in the future. So have a good night.
Thank you, Stash.
Thank you. Good night.
Hey guys, I just want to thank you for listening to the show. If you enjoyed the show, subscribe and throw down a smooth review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any podcast platform that you use. You can also check daily updates of the podcast, hikes, hiking memes, and local news on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and the official website of the show. Remember this, you just keep on living, man. LIVIN.
Wicked.